So, hello, and thank you for coming to my early talk. Today I want to speak about applying Android screens. So, what is actually screens planning? Screens planning is a process of preparing app flow, screen logic, layout, and design before a programmer actually writes first line of code. Screen logic, layout, and design, app flow, it actually sounds like a designer job. But you should remember 2 points here. First, that designer should not be the sole decision maker when planning Android screen. And the second, you need to be sure that your lead developer is involved very early in screen planning process. Why? Because developer will be able to give your design team a visibility into areas of design which can either become costly to implement or can present some performance challenges for your app. So why screen planning is important? Because it can prevent development surprises and cost overruns during the project. And that's what we want actually to avoid. So let's take a look how screen planning steps looks like. For every successful application, one of the most important ingredient is the idea of screen logic and app navigation. To use a cooking analogy, if you don't have a recipe, it doesn't matter how good ingredients you have, a dish will just not work. And believe me, I know what I'm saying because I recently got married and I'm doing cooking a lot. So, the best is to start with a well-reasonable app flow diagram. And if you don't do your app flow diagram first, you can have a lot more screens than necessary. And after completing the first step, you should be able to answer a question if the screen you are planning is actually necessary. Next is research other apps. If you know how to solve a problem, it doesn't mean that this is the only way of solving it, and it doesn't mean that this is the correct way. So the second important step is to research a lot of other applications which have similar screens, because they will be able to give you answer and help to make a right decision. After completing first two steps, you should be able to declare your screen logic, and the third step will be able to answer a question: what is the screen responsible for? Now the final step is layout and design. Your job here is actually to give suggestions about how the screen should look like, about screen design and screen layout. So let's take a look how it will work on a real sample, and let's try to plan sign-in screen. First, we'll start from drawing a simple relationship diagram. As you can see, here's our sign-in screen. We can switch it from sign-up screen. Also, from settings and profile, we can press sign out, and it will lead us to this sign-in screen. And whenever we have some background call and we have not authorized response, we try to invalidate token, and it again failed, we will go to sign-in screen again. So, yeah, this sign-in screen is actually necessary. Next step is researching other apps. So here you need to download a few applications which have a sign-in screen and check how they solve problems like internet is not available, input data is not valid, loading indicator, and other. Let's actually research some of those applications. For example, a Wine application Check if network is available after the user click on sign in button. Airbnb application provide as user type application, so it tracks when text inside login and password input field changes, and it switch login button to enabled or disabled state. Lazy data validations, as you can see, keep application just show you error message only when you click done button and provide validation after user click a done button. Loading indicator. I have a few samples of how you can do this. For example, a Swarm application disable login and password when you click on sign in with Foursquare, and it replaces sign in button text with loading indicator. Wine application display a classic loading dialog. And my favorite one, Danylyk application, it disables your sign in button, disable input fields, and do not display any of loading indicators. Prefilling data. So Pinterest application prefills a mail, so we don't have to type it manually. Airbnb application also include a Google social sign-in like Google and Facebook, and greatly improve user experience. And the last one is handling of keyboard done button. So by default, when user press keyboard done button, it closes keyboard, and Tumblr application handle this. And when you click like done button, it performs sign-in request for us. After completing upper search, you should be able to declare your screen logic. And during this step, you should just write down a list of sign-in screens features, like perform sign-in, handle network state, handle data validation, display loading indicator, prefill data, and social sign-in. And the last step is layout design. As I mentioned earlier, here you need to write down a few suggestions regarding sign-in screen design. For example, do not place functional buttons at the bottom of your screen. At least make sure they move to top when keyboard is displayed. So here is a Tumblr application. We have sign up and terms buttons, and whenever you click one of the input fields, it actually covers those buttons. So at least you can make your container scrollable, and those buttons will be at the top of your keyboard, and keyboard will not cover it. The second example is a Pinterest application. Please remember, do not force users to make unnecessary clicks, and show keyboard automatically when possible. For example, on a sign-in screen or some search screen. As you can see, Pinterest application opens when you click on sign-in screen. On Pinterest application, it shows us sign-in form, prefills email, but password is actually focused, password input field, but keyboard is not automatically raised up. And also make sure keyboard doesn't overlap your components like sign-in button. As you can see, Foursquare application has the same mistake. His container of this application is not scrollable, and as a result, we can see that part of sign-in button is covered by keyboard. So at the end of first part of my talk, I want also to share you a few development tips regarding sign-in screen. Sometimes you want to use email as your username, and for example, to do a validation, you can use a standard Android partner's email address to check if email is valid. So you need to use patterns.email address matcher and check if email match this pattern. Some other applications like Uber and some messengers are now using your phone as username. I suggest you to use a Google Leave Phone Number library. It will help you to validate if phone is correct, and there are some utils to format your phones. So here you can see like a snippet how you can check if the phone is valid and format in different formats like international, national, or E164. Third, please use account manager to prefill your username, because in most cases user will have the same, will register with the same username or email inside your application. 4, don't forget to set edit text attributes like Android hint, single line, and input types. For example, for password you can set text password input type. For your username, if it's phone, you can use phone input type, and for email you can use text email address. 5, don't forget that you can handle a keyboard done button. So you can, on your edit text, you can easily set on editor action listener, check if it is actually a done button and perform login request here. And also don't forget that some keyboards support changing keyboard action button. Like you can set inside XML file, you can set Android EMEA action label sign in. This 100% is working on, at least working on Nexus devices. 6, please provide meaningful error messages. So here I'm checking if email is not valid. I display please enter valid username. If password is empty, please enter password. If network is not available, you don't have internet connection. So error message should answer a question what is wrong, and in some cases give user a hint how to fix it. For example, when you try to sign in Airbnb application without internet connection, it displays error dialog with advice, please try again. But actually this is not correct, because we don't have internet connection, and if we try again, we will fail again. Next, the same Airbnb application, when you try to use social sign-in without internet connection, it will show you an infinity loading dialog and obscure error message like something went wrong with your request, which is actually not very helpful. 7, please provide cancellation mechanism. Let's say we have a sign-in request, async request, which is made in background, and when we are showing, when we are doing our request and showing our, for example, loading dialog, user can easily click back and dismiss this dialog. So you need to track the dismiss event or cancel event and mark your request as cancel to not deliver result. Because here's another example how application fails to do this. A Wine application, so steps to reproduce. You need to type your email and password, press sign in button. Once the loading dialog appears, press system back button. Previous action will close the dialog, but won't actually cancel a request, because after a few seconds you will see that that username or password is in correct error. So one application doesn't ignore HTTP request callback when dialog is dismissed, and as a result, toast with error message appears after loading dialog was dismissed. Again, here's a GIF how you can reproduce it. Back button, and here is error dialog. Next application which also fails is Tumblr application. So steps to reproduce, type your email and password. Press sign in button. You can see that the request is done in background and you see a loading indicator. Next, you need to click sign up. So this action will switch you to sign up view. We have now a password input field. But won't actually cancel request because we can see that loading indicator is still running. So after a few seconds, we will see that incorrect email or address, so you can see an error message. Again, this is a GIF, how you can reproduce it. So as a result, error labels appears in the wrong state, actually in sign up view. However, we did a sign-in request. Also use account manager and sync adapter when possible, because account manager gives user a central point to define their credentials. And Android decides when is the best time to make synchronization via sync adapter. This to sync actually helps a lot. And the last one, the last hint is to not make your sign-in screen a main screen. So the typical flow is the following. You are making your sign-in screen main and mark it as a launcher screen. You first launch sign-in activity, then check if access tokens is valid. If they are valid, you are launching like home activity or some other activity, which should be launched after login, and finish your sign-in activity. If access token is not valid, you just init your login screen. This causes an issue, unnecessary delay, because sign-in activity launch every time when user open application. So the better flow is to launch a home activity, then inside your home activity check if access token is valid or not. If access token is valid, we just init our home activity, and if access token is not valid, we launch our sign-in screen. So in 99% cases, user will see your sign-in screen only once, and we will immediately launch home screen. So a summary of part 1 of my presentation is take your time to plan Android screen, keep your technical team involved in your screen planning process, because this will help a lot, and research and learn from other applications. Part 2 of my presentation is planning animations. So why animations are important? Because you can get an application into production without animations, but these little things can actually be the difference between your app receiving 4 or 5 stars review. So how to make decision to animate a sync? Here's a simple chart. So if something looks weird and unnatural, you need to animate it. If not, leave it as it is. So what types of animations we have? First one is functional animations, and second one, which I call delightful and cute animations. So what are functional animations? Animations which help to provide context are called functional. They help brains to understand how the information flows. Let's see it in the following example. So we have a sample application. When user click on item, we should remove it. So currently, when we click this item, it just disappears and it looks weird and unnatural. That's why we should animate it. So here is the same sample with animation. As you can see here, items scale down, fade and move up and disappear. So for user, it's clear this item disappear. Now, what are delightful and cute animations? Animations which make usage of your app more interesting and fun are called delightful and cute. They bring uniqueness to your application and help user to remember your app. The example of this animation. So this is a pull to refresh with a lot of animations, which are actually not necessary because we can easily replace it with a simple pull to refresh. But with this cute animation, user can actually remember you and even leave your application and not delete it. So one of the most common questions which user asks me is when to start coding animations. From my experience, I can tell you that flow and design changes very often during development. So that's why development of complex and time-consuming animations is usually postponed to the very end of development, when core development of application is completed. So what is animation prototyping? Animation prototyping is a way to quickly mock up animation without having to write any code. And why prototyping is useful for developer? Because you can see order of transformations which are applied, and you can easily convert that into code. We will see that later in the example. So the tools I want to introduce you is called Pixate. That's an animation prototyping tool recently acquired by Google. On a high-level concept, Pixate creates a native app prototype that runs directly on your iOS or Android device. So it works like this. You need to make changes to your prototype in Pixate, and when changes are saved, it will reload this prototype on your device in real time. What do you need to start? You need to have a Pixate mobile application. You need to have Pixate Studio, which is available for free, of course, and an Android device. So connection to your device is done via Wi-Fi. It's pretty simple. I'll not stop on this. A very detailed tutorial how to do this is available in official Pixate knowledge base. So let's take a look how Pixate Studio interface look like. I divided it into a few sections, like A, B, C, D, E, F. We will start from A. That's the toolbox and asset tabs. We have two tabs here. The layer list is home to all our layers. So this tab displays all our layers and sublayers. And the second tab just displays all our uploaded images. The second section is B. That's actions sections. You can run some scripts there, which are made to complete a common tasks like, for example, align a layer or add a scroll view to it. C section, one of my favorites, those are interactions. The first tab. Interactions are like gestures and actions which user will perform in your applications, and animations, which actually move, scale, and change layers depending on user input. So we have like move, scale, rotate animation, fade, and so on. A D section is the biggest section. It's a canvas. Canvas is a visual representation of your prototype. So you need to drag and drop components here. And what you see here, you will see on your device. E section, that's a layer properties. So here you can change your layer ID, position, size, and other transformations. And a final and my favorite F sections is animation properties. So here you can create actually animations and change their properties. So let's do a simple prototyping, animation prototyping. A final preview how our prototype will look like. So when user click on one of list item, a detail view slide from the left. Terms which we will be using. This is a picture, and this is a detail view which slides from the left. So the first step is to cut necessary resources and add them to your Pixate Studio. Next, you need just to drag and drop your assets and make your screen. Also, don't forget to create layers. And third step is to move your detail view to initial position that's off the screen, because initially user will not see this. 4 is to select picture and click to select your picture, click on tap interaction, which will add interaction to your layer. 5 step is to select your detail view and click on move animation. This will actually add a move animation to your detail view. Now, how to create a move animation. So first you need to set on which layer your animation will be based on. That's a container 2. It's ID of our left of our detail view, and it is based on a tap. So actually you need to read it as when someone tap on our container 2, so on our image. Next we need to set which animation we wish to use and a condition when it will work. So we are not using any condition, but we are using animation with duration to a final value. We are animating our view from initial position to the left, 90 points, sorry. And here's optional parameter is an easing. Here we are using a spring easing with 2.5 seconds and 300 tension. So the whole animation looks like this. When someone taps on picture, you need to move this layer 90 pixels left, 90 points left, with spring easing curve. So let's see how easy we can translate it to actually code. We have attention, 300, the same value. We have anticipate or shoot interpolator, that's our spring easing. We have a time, 2.5 seconds. Interpolator, so that's our easing, and we are moving like 90 points to the left. Actually, on a real animation, you would use dips, not pixels. Don't forget about it. Again, how animation looks like. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to go from a prototype, and you can create this prototype by your own and easily translate it to animation. And you can combine those animations, and one animation can have a different set of animations. So when you or designer is making animation prototype, he can send you all those screenshots of transformations which he applied, and you can very easily just transform it. So as a summary, Pixate is free. It has a very simple process of prototyping. You can preview your prototype on a real device, which is very helpful. The only issue is currently, which Pixate currently have, is a limited basic asset kit. So to create a prototype, you need to cut all those PNG images and upload them. You don't have any shapes like in Photoshop or Sketch or other prototyping tools. So thank you for coming, and if you have any questions, please, I can answer them.
Okay, thank you for speech. Very interesting. I want to ask you, it's these tools we can use for show our prototypes to clients, yeah? Or only for internal usage? How do you think?
Again, sorry?
If our client, we want to show him an application, yeah? And we can use these tools to show our client the prototype, then we even begin to develop the application. Just that he understands what he wants. You know, like some clients don't know what they really want.
Yeah, I know. So first point here, Pixate is not like other prototyping tool. You can't move all your screens there and give like application to your client so we can click on all screens.
It's just only for one screen, yeah?
Yes, Pixate is just to make a screen-by-screen transition, so 2 screens or some actually animation which cover 1 screen. Okay, so this is not for sharing for your client, but yeah, but actually you can share it For example, if you are working on an animation prototype and you first want to show it to a client, and client will give you a feedback, and you can easily like adjust it and change it.
Okay, I've got it. And the next questions: what tools we can use for prototyping all application, entire application?
I think the best tool is InVision. So we are using it. You can create a full prototype there, a clickable version, and share it with the client, and he can post comments. And InVision is actually preparing an update for animations. I don't know if it will be such powerful framework as Pixate, but hopefully yes. So they are more focused on designers, and they have like timelines. If you're familiar with After Effects or Flash, they have like timelines where you can adjust animations. And Pixate is more like if something happened, do this. So it's more like development related, I think.
Thank you.
Small question. Can we, by means of Pixate, export our animation into the GIF format, for example?
No, you can't do this out of the box, but for example, I'm using a GIF-cam. This is a free application. It actually can record your screen and export it into GIF file or AVI file. But inside Pixate, there is option to make a 30-second video recording. So you can easily record a video and send it to client.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any good practices for planning screens for both tablet and phone versions? And possibly moreover, there is a grand variety of devices with different screen sizes, with or without on-screen buttons. When do you include these differences into your planning screens process?
It actually depends on application. For example, if your application is targeting tablet, of course you are making tablet first, or maybe you are only focusing tablet. But let's say you're making a regular application. So the first is actually a phone. We will be a version for phones, of course. I don't think we have such a big variety of screen sizes, because it's all easily scales up and down, and currently I think most of the developers support phones from 4.2 version and bigger, and those phones are pretty powerful and have almost the same resolution, so resolution is not a problem. I would start from phones, of course, then I would release a version for smartwatches, because it's very easily to make. As you can very easily configure it to work, for example, to make notifications work on your watch faces. And then if you need a tablet version, you can make it. If you don't need tablet version, you don't need to make it.
Thank you.
About tablet versions, it's a good practice to make a tablet version and a phone version in one application, using the one code but different layouts.
Actually, Google have guidelines for how to create tablet version of your application. It also depends how user will use it, because some applications require portrait mode, some applications require more landscape mode. And of course, users use tablets more in tablet mode. And you need to make special layouts for your tablets. For example, let's you all know Gmail, so Gmail application have a navigation drawer, and in tablet mode, in landscape orientation, navigation drawer is always visible. So since tablets have more space, we need to display more information to user. So you don't need to make any not necessary clicks.